how can we all find that one thing that's going to motivate us so much that we all are driving toward it? It sounds easy, but it's really not that easy.
Hey guys, it is going to be a good one today. I just finished interviewing John Donnelly, and I got to tell you, I really enjoyed this. Him and I both started in the industry around the same time. I think it was 1998. And we have a lot of this same kind of experiences basically, but we're going to talk a lot about mindset, a lot about just like, what's your why? Because that's super important. You can't really get to where you need to be if you don't have a why. And then we're going to talk a lot about systems, because without systems, you're never going to get there either, right? You can only do so much within a certain day if you're doing it all. But if you have systems and people in place, you're going to see how you can scale from that point, right? This dude climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. So there's a lot that went into there, and how he read this book and then went out and walked, what was it, 12 hours or something, 13 hours the very next day. I'm telling you, this is going to be a good one. So join us and enjoy the show. Hey, my name is Dino Katsiametis from the Way podcast, and I'm excited today because I got John Donnelly here with us, and we are here to empower, equip, and educate loan officers from the very best in the business. And I'm excited because I actually want to pick John's brain quite a bit today. I think he's got a lot to offer. So first, I want to welcome to the show, John. How are you?
I'm
Thanks
great.
for coming on.
Happy to be here. Excited to have this conversation.
Awesome. So John, listen, you've been in the business for how long now?
Like 1998. So,
all right. So you're a seasoned vet. You've lost
Yeah,
a little
right.
hair in the
blame the mortgage business
process.
for that.
Your beard isn't as gray as mine, but
Yeah,
it's getting
it's
there.
happening.
So I think between all of that, the two of us have a lot to offer to the listeners, right? And just reading your bio, I feel like you have the same passion I do for helping
Yes.
people. And I love the fact that we could be here today and really just, go through our history, go through the things that worked and didn't work, and then, pass it on to the next generation, and hopefully be able to help others get to a place quicker than maybe we did, right? Or even have the same success that we had.
Yeah.
So I like to do that by first asking you who you are today, so everybody can really know like who you are, both personally and professionally. And then I go back all the way to day one, where, you first started,
Yeah.
because all of us, both of us, right, started exactly the same place everybody else did. And then our journey back to today again. So that's what I really want to get out of you today, is
Gotcha.
your journey. So who are you today?
Today, I'm a father. I have 2 kids. They're both in college. I'm a husband. I've been married 27 years, 28 years soon. I'm a leader in the mortgage industry, and I'm a coach. I'm a recruiter, and I'm passionate about helping people. I say cliche of servant leadership, but to me that means I want more for people than I want from them. I love giving back and inspiring and sharing the lessons I've learned, hoping that they can make a difference, and hoping that they can have more success quicker than I did, probably just like you said.
Yeah, and when I was preparing for this morning, I started reading through your bio, and I actually just kind of wanted to I'm going to read it, and there's something that struck me with it, and I'll say that all of us, right, our bios, okay, they all say something. They're written in a way, but I started really digging into yours a little bit, and it feels right for me. But I wanted to start actually picking apart as we go back and walk through your journey. I want to start picking apart each of these things that I underlined, so that we can really touch upon it, right? So that I can honestly like be done with this interview and say like he's not fake,
Okay.
that
I
this is
gotcha.
really him.
I love
You know. All right, so here I'm gonna read it. Right, John Donnelly is executive director of sales at Service First Mortgage, where he drives growth through speed. Number 2, service. Number 3, uncompromising standards. Number 4, all of them like really excellent things, right? To be very successful, both in the business and I think, personally as well. Uncompromising standards. If you don't have that, then You don't have anything on the personal side either. A servant leader, which I love at heart. John is passionate about developing top producers, which is what I think we're doing here today, and helping them build scalable, values driven business that deliver real value to their communities. He recently summited, and I'll give you this hats off, Mount
Right.
Kilimanjaro.
Yep. That just in a June. Right.
Pretty, yeah, pretty awesome. An experience that reinforced his belief that grit, preparation, and perseverance, all three amazing things, right, are foundation of both personal and professional success. Known for his relentless growth mindset, which I love and I want to dig into, and commitment to operational clarity, John equips his teams with the vision, tools and vision to thrive in a competitive market. Beyond business, he is dedicated to mentorship and making a lasting impact on the lives and careers of those he leads, earning a reputation as a high integrity leader who consistently raises the standard for excellence. So you sound like you're pretty awesome here, right?
I think I mean, I strive to be that. That's it. So how do we break this down and like you said, and prove that it's not a bunch of words, you know?
Yeah, so that's what I'm actually excited about here because I have a feeling we're going to, right? But I want to start with day one, go all the way back to day one, because we'll all be the same, right? On that one day and where, how, why, when, where did you get started, right? And then we're gonna cross through all the major milestones, and I want to start picking out all of these things that I just read and find out when they all happened and how they
I
happened.
think that's really cool. You're the first one to dig into it like that, and all those words have a story. So this will be great. Um, I'll just try to be quick. It was 1997, I think, and my wife had a friend in an accounting department at a company called First Plus Financial here in the Dallas area. They did 125 second lien mortgages out of a call center. Yeah, I don't know if you remember this company, maybe, but
Yeah, I don't remember them. I remember
yeah,
the time that those were good times. For those of you that don't even know like what
yeah,
that means, the banks were lending 25%
exactly.
over the value of your home on seconds, and we were all charging 10
Yeah,
points back
Section
then.
32 loans, we had to disclose 3 days before closing and do all that stuff, 10 to 14 points. So, Dan Marino was on TV doing commercials all over the country. It
Oh
was our
yeah, I remember that.
He
So
would
that was the
come through
bank.
every once in a while and, shake hands and part of the deal. So my intro into the business was this friend of my wife's was in accounting, said they're hiring salespeople to be in this call center and they're making a bunch of money. And so I just applied because I wanted to make a lot of money and I didn't know a thing about mortgages. And I ended up getting this job and it was like the movie Boiler Room, like 100% like this movie. It was they cater in your meals for lunch, they keep you there for dinner. There's fancy cars in the parking lot. It's an 8-story building. It was wild and it was fun. We had a blast. I was doing, calls would come in off TV ads, and then they would go through these salespeople, and then they would hand the deals off to the little branches in certain states. Well, I worked in this group where we didn't have branches, they handed them off to us. So I was handling like 30 to 50 loans, in a month. There were small second liens. I had 4 or 5 processes. It was crazy. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how I was putting people upside down in their house. It didn't click with me. I just made a lot of money and had a lot of fun. And then eventually, guess what? They go out of business. Imagine that. And so I moved to Arizona and I worked in call centers for like 2 more years. And I was like, one day, I'm like, I want to be a real loan officer. I want to talk to realtors and I want to help people buy houses. And so I finally said, yeah, I'm going to go down that path. So I learned sales on a telephone and first, and then I became what I would say is a referral based, traditional mortgage banker. So that's my short path.
All right, so let's do that. I'll tell you, I'm gonna do a little comparison sometimes as we go. I went the opposite way. When I first started, it was same probably it was exact same time frame, right? And I went into one of these call centers and and I had this like look on my face. I couldn't believe like what I was seeing and what this guy was saying. And then he saw that. You know what he said to me? He goes, "Hey, at least we're not one of these companies that puts sensors on your chairs to know that, to make sure you're at your
Oh
desk.
my gosh, yeah.
I, I got this is the kind of shit that really happens in
It's
this business. I was like, whoa. And then I found a guy that was a real loan officer and said he'll train me personally, right? And um, as it turned out, it wasn't all that great, but I learned. It was a very small office. There was only three of us, and I learned how to do loans, and I learned a little bit, and eventually I left, went to another place where everybody was suit and tie, Newport Beach, high rise, and we were doing well, right? Like we was like, all right, this is how you do business. And I finally learned how to do business. But it took me 6 months to get my first deal. And I can't help but think sometimes, should I have gone into the call center and just like hammered, the crazy life for a little while, but made money? Because in 6 months, I mean, I was broke, it was really difficult. But I also like the idea of the fact that I had my back up against the wall and I was forced to really go out there and figure out how to get some business. And I'd say that, I think just 'cause my personality, I probably would have done it again the same exact way, because I love the relationships. I love, you know, the doing business, right? Like the right way in my eyes. Not that there's anything against leads, but boiler room type style is
it
just way
wasn't for
too much.
me. Well, I would say I learned a lot about sales and sales. I wasn't one to like lie and exaggerate, not tell the truth. It wasn't that wasn't my style, but I I did learn a lot. But there's a point where I'm like, this isn't a long term thing for me. I was young and I could do this for a while, but I could not see this as a career. Uh, but you got to that point. I mean, probably since you've brought probably quite a few loan officers in. There's this moment that they all come through about that 6 to 9 month window in the business where it's like they're not making it and they run out of money and they got to determine how bad do they want this business, and that's the moment. Like that's where you soul search it and you decide if you're going to go forward or not. And a lot of people don't make it through that, but if you can make it over that hump, you're probably going to have an amazing career in our business. And everybody has that story. Anybody that's successful in our business probably has that moment somewhere where it was really tough.
What I always say is like, is do you have a job or do you have
Yeah.
a career? There's a difference, right? Like that was a job what you were doing. Now it's a career. So okay, so you moved on, right? Like you decided you're gonna go be a and so I do two things: job, career, loan officer, mortgage advisor. Two different things, right? So you decided to become a mortgage advisor. And did you even know about mortgages yet? Or were you just selling stuff
I
not knowing?
did, but I didn't. I knew, I actually moved to Phoenix for 4 or 5 years, and I worked from working at First Plus, I worked at the Associates that was bought by Citi and a couple of call centers. I started doing purchases. It was more called subprime back then, what we call non-QM kind of stuff today. But so I kind of knew, but I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know conventional rate sheets and FHA and that MVA. I didn't know any of that. I just knew I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it so bad. I was like, I'm willing to go and take that step and figure it out. And so we bought leads to get started. Like that's stuff that people do today is they'll go online and they'll buy leads and all that. We were doing that back in 2001 and 2. And I use that to supplement, if you will, my ability to have relationships with people to get started. That's how I kind of started. And then over time, finally, you get enough traction that you start to build your business.
So were you hitting the real estate agents the most, or did you go financial planners or
Mainly
CPAs who
realtors,
were
a couple of financial planners for sure that I had relationships with, I leaned into, but that was it. Like mainly realtors. That's always kind of been my main focus.
so let's break that down a little bit, right? Because I know there's a lot of guys out there that are like, I want to do this, right? And how do I do it? And there's maybe how you did it. And I'm kind of curious, like, okay, I mean, it's been almost 30 years. So, how would you do it would you do it any different
It's
today?
almost the same. We've come all through, let's say it's 30 years ago or whatever. What I would do today and what I would do back then, I have more confidence today to say this because I'm been in the business a long time. Um, I went out and met with realtors and I did some open house, not open house, uh, um, um,
Broker
yeah, we
previews?
did that, but then one of the things I did that was successful is when I had a real connection with a customer, I would do a housewarming party for them, and then I would invite the realtors and all their friends and family, and that was really good for me, because you kinda go and you make connections with more than just realtors. You connect with their friends and family, and then you become the guy that got them the house. So I had a good success with that a few times. I don't see that happen. I don't even know if that would happen in today's world, if that's even a thing that would work, but it was different to go and put a little party on and have the realtor and the insurance person or whatever just invite everybody to their new house, and invite their friends and family. That's something I did. Um, and then to like teach classes. I didn't teach classes back then. I teach classes now, and that's the secret to me is being the professional standing in front of a group. I think that in today's world, we have to leverage our time and market to as many people as we can at once. Going one on one to a realtor was real effective 25 years ago because they controlled the business and it was a different. Nowadays, if a realtor has 5 closings a month, almost all of them are with different lenders. There's not very many that control the business like they used to. It's hard to find ones that will or that can. And so we've got to be very strategic on how we spend our time and market to accounts or market to large groups of people as much as possible. That's what I coach to that today. So standing in front of a room of realtors and teaching a class is a great way because you become the expert and then you connect with all these people at once. So I would say that still works today. I'm still getting people in classes today.
Okay, so let's do that, right? Let's talk about that. I I always teach people when I'm teaching a younger loan officer, I say, are you gonna go find realtors and be like, "Hi, my name's Dino. I do loans super quick. I got great rates. I'm always available, blah, 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 blah." All the same stuff, right? It's like they get that call every single day. They're tired of it. What are you going to give them that's of value? And what are you going to give them that's going to help them grow their business? Those are the two things that I always try and get a younger person to think about. What are you gonna do? Why would they choose you? Is it because you're good looking? Or is it because you're gonna help them grow their business? Right. And and that's what it needs to be. So, let's kind of break some of those things down right now and see if we can give somebody some actionable advice on how to do that. Right. I mean, well, I'll start with, let's just get this out of the way. You better be good at your job. Like
Yes.
and if you're not, you better have a team that can do that for you. If not, you have no business going out there and even trying to give value to somebody, right?
Yes.
Because you can't fulfill. So let's get that out of the way. Be really good at your trade, and then forget about it or get the team to do it. Because if you can't get your phone to ring, you're not going to make any money for anybody. So now tell me, when you're coaching, right? And that's some of your stuff here. You like to coach. How are you telling these younger guys or newer guys to go out there and meet people, and how are they going to add
Yeah,
value?
I think the way you meet them now is you gotta do a little homework on them. Sounds like you've done a little homework on me, or you've at least read my sheet, right? So you got to start there. So if I'm gonna reach out to you, if you're a realtor, I'm gonna try to uncover some things about you that I can talk to you about first, just to get in front of you, right? Because it's hard to even get the conversation. I like messaging through social platforms today as a source of a call because you can prove that you've done some work and you have a connection and you can talk about personal things that you see to at least get on the phone. And then the next thing is like we have uh we have some loan officers that actually recently we've talked about this that will come in and we call it product vomit. They'll just come in and say, "We do all this stuff," but it's not effective for most realtors because they may not even need all that stuff. They may not even care about all that stuff. So you're going in there with like this pitch. And really the thing that I would say is you only need to talk 20% of the time in this conversation that you're having when you're talking, when you're prospecting. You're trying to ask key questions to uncover the need so you can position yourself to solve the problem they have, right? And so it's not going to be the same for everybody, but it could be. It could be they all need leads right now. That's probably a common one, right? We all need leads. But maybe they don't. Maybe they just need a lender that will show up at their event or whatever their thing is, or a certain way they want to communicate. It just depends on that. And so, how do you know that without uncovering that need? Um, until you learn how to ask the right questions and position yourself, you know, to solve that problem that they have. Otherwise, what you're just the same as everybody else is how I would.
I'm writing that down. Um, okay, so actually, really, really great point. And for those of you that have that, are you a Todd Duncan guy?
Yeah, I've
Like,
been
have
to
you
lots of
been
sales
doing any of this stuff?
masteries and all that stuff. Yep.
Okay, it's
I
coming up,
know.
by the
Right here in
way.
my backyard. I live in
Next,
Dallas, so it's right here.
are
Yeah,
you going to
I'll be
be
there.
there? Awesome. I will see you there. I'm going to
Awesome.
be
I'll
there
look
as
for
well.
you.
So Todd Duncan teaches this a lot, right? The high trust interview. And there's two. There's the high trust interview with the people needing the loan, and there's the high trust interview with the real estate agent who is also your client, right? Like you have two clients. And I loved what you said. You don't really need to be doing all the talking. You should probably only talk about 20% of the time. So ask the right questions. And I wrote that down because I think that's going to be like a good topic for a blog or for a webinar or something later. I love that. Ask the right questions because if you don't know what their needs are, I don't think you could do a good job servicing them, right? Or actually like probably using some of the words that you use here. Um, you know, leader, let's see, servant leader, drives growth, speed, service. Like if you don't know what any of their needs are, you can't do any of those things for them. So guys, ask those right questions because you will see that the majority of them probably all have the same needs, but there's going to be some unique things that come out of a good conversation where you will actually connect with them even more and you'll find that you have things in common. And I believe, and John, you can agree or disagree, when you're working with people that are actually a little more connected to you, that are like
Yes.
you will see a lot more
Big time.
success.
Big time. But you got to kind of show who you are a little bit so people can connect with you. I'm a huge, you can see in my background, Kansas City Chiefs fan. And I grew up in Kansas City when I was young, so I've been a fan before we got Taylor Swift and all this stuff. But but the reason I say this is that when the Chiefs started winning, I had so many people messaging me on Facebook and texting because they're happy for them. They knew I was a Chiefs fan because we stunk forever. And that was a cool thing to feel the connection of people I barely knew. They're like, I'm rooting for the Chiefs because of you. Because I put it out there. I'm a Chiefs fan. They see me go to the games and stuff like that. And my family does football. We all get around and we watch the game and we all wear our shirts. It's like our family thing. It's just fun for us, right? And so people know that because I share that. That's not too personal. I'm not showing too much, but people know that about me. And so when you have a connection with people like that, it does make that relationship of just a little deeper. And then it's just like you're saying, you have to connect with people more than just you do a great job. That's fine, but a lot of people do a great job. And the other thing that I was thinking, I think this is important, is nowadays you're also asking these right questions because you're trying to determine if these realtors are the right ones for you also now, because there's a lot of them that aren't. And one of my key questions is like, tell me how you prospect. And that's one of the main ones you got to ask because that's going to reveal everything you need to know. How do they prospect? If they don't have a plan, then you might have a partner that doesn't have a lot of business to give you. My favorite answer ever, years ago, I went with a loan officer of mine to a meeting, and I asked that exact question, and he pulls out 2 phones. He goes, "This is my prospecting phone, and this is my customer phone. And I take this phone and I give it to my team, and I make calls 4 hours a day." And I was like, "This is a guy we wanna work with. He's gonna have a lot of leads," you know? And that tells you so much. A lot of them, they don't know. I don't know how to prospect, or I don't know what I'm doing, or I use my database and I email out. That's not enough.
Yeah. So couple things. One, we were talking about connecting and Kansas City, right? Like the Chiefs, everybody knows that about you. I would say in today's world, when you're on social media, you're doing this and you're going so fast because over the years now you have more and more friends and you don't even know who half of them are anymore, right? So you're just kind of scrolling and you're not even going to connect personally anymore because you feel like you're connecting here, but you're going so fast, you're not even slowing down enough to actually connect with somebody and find out what's important. So my advice would be, and I when I was producing, I did this a lot with realtors and with clients. I would always connect with them here. And then I would slow down when I got to them, right? I'd stalk them and I'd find out what's important to them, right? So if John was my target, I would make sure I knew everything about John that I needed to know. And when an opportunity came, I wouldn't forget. Kansas City Chiefs won, boom, he's my first call. If you're doing this so fast, it just slips your mind. You don't even care anymore. And I think this world has kind of gotten into this kind of stage where, no big deal. And, it's like, no, like slow it down, bring it back old school and call the person. And I bet you anything that there's going to be joy that's going to come from it from both sides because we are made for connection. Like we really are. That's what we're supposed to do is connect, not just for business purposes, but person to
I
person.
think I wanna share this story that's right in this vein. So, we just did Kilimanjaro, and so the guy that did it with me, his name's Mark Cable, he's a realtor, and we met at a BNI networking group that I formed in 2010. 2010, I believe it was. And so he showed up the second meeting we had. There was 3 of us that said, "Let's form a BNI group." We probably know what that is. He was the realtor, and, so we did our one-on-one, and we didn't know each other, and we both lived in St. John. And so we met, and we both said, "Yeah, we'll help each other, we're in this group and might as well help each other." We didn't know each other. And then that relationship formed over the years, and then that's cool thing, that group still goes today. 15 years later, that's a big BNI group that I literally will tell you I formed. I took the initiative to start that thing. I'm not in it. I mean, I put different loan officers as involved. He's not even in it. But what happened is we became friends because we supported each other so much, and we know about each other so much that um, about 5 months, 4 months before I went up Kilimanjaro, we were having lunch because we just stayed connected, every maybe quarter. I don't produce like eh, anyway, we were having lunch, and I was telling him I'm gonna do Kilimanjaro, he knew, but I'm going by myself. And I told him my buddy that was gonna go bailed on me, and he calls me later that day. He goes, "Hey, send me the details on Kilimanjaro." I go, "Dude, why? You would never do that." He goes, "I'm thinking about it." I go, "Why are you thinking about it?" Because I know you. And he literally goes, I just don't want you to go by yourself." And I was like, "Really?" Talk about a friendship. Like, it was really awesome. He goes, "I feel called to come with you. And I can't really tell you why. It's nothing I've ever thought about doing. I would rather buy a new motorcycle." He likes like riding in the mountains on his motorcycle than to go do this trip with you. But I think I need to go. And then he went. How cool is that? And so that is a relationship that came out of going to networking event and getting to know people and going deep with him. But those kind of things are the awesome parts of our business too. They come out of this.
Yeah. But you said it right there, you go
Yeah.
deeper, and if you don't, yeah, I don't think you're ever gonna get to that place, and I think it's super important that if you're going to be in this business, you I mean, man, I guess it's tough. It is in my personality to do that. I think partially because 'cause I'm Greek, like, that's just what we
Yeah.
do. But it needs to be in you to want and care for people.
Yes.
Because if you do excuse me, if you do care for people, like, genuinely, it's almost like you can't fail, right? Like, there's a joy that comes from all that, and it will happen for you and transform, but you have to put in everything from your heart, right? Like, you actually, I'll tell a story right now, right? Like, I I remember one time I was already doing well, but I was going for this change. I really wanted to transform, and I actually came back. I think it was um, Tony Robbins seminar, and I asked I asked one of the guys that worked for me, like, "Hey, man, do you love our clients?" Yeah, and he looked at me and he was like, "Whoa," like, I'm like, "Strong word for a dude. Do you like our clients?" And he's like, "I mean, what do you want me to say, man? I'm just here to get the check and, I want to get home." And I'm like, "All right." But then I started really thinking about it and I was dwelling on it. I'm like, how do you not love these clients of ours? How do you not love our
Right.
realtors? Man, realtors are a pain in the ass. Like, how many times have
Yeah.
we heard that? But you know how much money these realtors have made me? I mean, how do you not love them? Forget like, love. How do you not
Yeah.
love these people? They go out and hunt for your food every single day, and then they trust you with
Yeah.
their paycheck. That's a huge, trust factor that they're putting on your and you say you don't like them? So, I I mean, you better change that mindset if you wanna be successful. That's the first thing I'd have to say to somebody is, change your mindset and start loving on people, and I think you're gonna find a whole, like, different, set of circumstances opening up for you in a positive manner. And then let's go back to value, right? Like, what is your value? Because doing loans is not the
Right.
value. I know for me, when I was really building my business, there was a couple things that were of three things that were of real value that I gave to the realtors. Number one, I created a marketing program, a gift giving program where we started gifting to the clients a lot, like a lot, right? And we co-marketed it with the agents, so and no charge to them, but they saw value in that because there were presents going out to these people, and those caused a lot of referrals. So big piece number one. Number two, I I was like a dog with a bone. I would never let something die. If somebody said I couldn't get this deal to work, I would say, "Let me talk to them. 'Em. I'll figure out a way to make it work," right? And I'm not gonna say that every time I could figure out how to make it work, but what I did that was better than the others is I said, "Give me 3 months, give me 6 months, and I can make this work." And then I would give explicit instructions on what needs to happen step by step by step in order to get somebody there. And and hey, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but let's not let
Right.
it die. Let's put a
Yep.
plan together, right? That's I think a commendable, trait of a good mortgage advisor. And number 3, and you talk about speed over here, right? Everybody can close a loan in 30
Yes.
days. If that's your superhuman strength, oh my goodness, that's average. That
It's
is
expected.
average.
It's not even a
Yeah, it's
talking point. It's
expected.
just expected.
It's expected. Can you close a loan in
Right.
15 days? That's what'll set you apart from everybody else. Can you close a loan or can you put a home in a contract with no loan contingencies? Because you did such a good job up front that you
Yep.
don't need all that. And where I'm going with that, you guys, is this really built my business. In a market, and I know it changes all the time, but I love when the market is competitive and tough because I can stand out in the crowd. Because when it's slow, everybody can close a loan in 15 days. Okay, fine. But when it's busy, are you capable of pushing all that other stuff aside and saying, I'm going to close this loan in 15 days, because if you do, that will help that realtor get an offer accepted. And I was tracking all these metrics for a while prior to COVID when it got super wild and crazy, right? It was 90% of the time my realtors got their very first offer accepted.
That's
90% of
high.
the time. And they would credit me for that win. And the reason why is because their offer stood out in a sea of, let's say, 10 other offers. Right now, during COVID, in a sea of 50 other offers, my realtors were getting their first offer accepted 70% of the time, to the point where they would tell, and I'm not going to deny it was a little expensive during that period of time, strictly because it was wild, right? Sub 3% interest rates, and I was still closing in 15 days or less on purchase deals. They would tell their clients, if you're not willing to work with them, I'm not going to be willing to work with you. And the reason why they would say is because you're never going to get an offer accepted if you don't. Between the reputation and what he's capable of putting together, that extra quarter point that I was in rate higher than competition is the cheapest thing you will be able to get, because if you don't get this offer accepted, the next time you find a house you like, the house is going to be $30,000-$50,000 more. I mean, that's what it was
Yeah.
like, at least in Southern California during that market.
What what were you putting, like, we did some of this too specifically, but what were you doing when that offer happened that set you apart? What was your thing?
Yeah. So I still laugh when I hear realtors say, I call every listing agent when the offer goes in. It's like, well, first of all, let me ask you this question. How many of those listing agents actually answer the phone? Because they don't anymore. And that voicemail, they don't even bother. I mean, they're not going to piece anything together at this point. I always did a video. Now, in the old days, I would call. That was, before we had the videos, and that's what I would do, right? But then after a while, I was like, man, these aren't even work. This isn't working anymore. Nobody's picking up their phone anymore. How am I going to get through to them? So I would do a video, and I morphed into a couple things, but this is the way I would do it today if I was to do this. All too often, people get a little scared of the camera, and they lean on other things. So I just taught this to some of my people. I'm like, listen, when you're doing a video, a lot of times we do a screen share and we're doing the background of something. And I'm like, forget that. Take all that away. One big picture of you, and look right into the camera, and talk to that realtor and grab their attention from the very beginning, right? And you're gonna do a couple things here. You're going to show some presence and some authority, which is important, right? They have to trust that you know what you're doing. And you're marketing, because you're now telling this agent who you are and how good you are. And you're basically saying, without saying it, you're going to be loving the way I do business so much that you're going to give me business. I always had that in mind every single time, right? And then I would start off by, addressing their concerns. And I would say stuff like, hey, this, from Ethos Lending, listen, I know you're getting a lot of offers, but I wanted to really just show you why our offer is a little bit better. I'm sure you already saw in the contract, we're closing in 15 days with zero loan contingencies. And I know there's a lot of guys playing games out there with all that just to get an offer accepted, but I'm also willing to offer a $250 a day penalty per diem paid by me personally to your seller if I don't close on time. And the appraisal inspection, I know everybody else is taking 15 days right now just to get appraisals. I'll get ours back in 5 days. So my commitment to you is that we're going to address all the issues, and really the only issue is the appraisal. And the loan piece is done. Like, I don't even understand. I would say I don't even understand why anybody has loan contingencies anymore. That used to be a thing of the past, when people would get all dressed up on the weekend and go into an open house and be like, "Oh, I love this house. Let's go talk to the agent and write up an offer." Then you get your contingencies, because then you go get the loan. That doesn't happen anymore. Everybody needs a pre-approval letter just to make an offer. So personally, I would throw out every offer that has any kind of loan contingencies on it. That doesn't make any sense to me. Right. So I addressed all this stuff. And then I would pop off and do a screen share of the LOS. Right. And I was very particular about how I did it. And I would always point out the credit score first and just say, like, look, obviously you can see, you know, my client has an amazing credit score, right? So we're good there. He also has, and then I would like kind of circle the debt ratio. He also has a great debt ratio. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because the reality is I can go up to 49.99%, but I'm also leaving room in my pre-approval here because I know in this crazy market, if the house doesn't appraise, it could potentially be a problem. But I've already addressed that with our client, and we have this appraisal gap strategy in place so that even if it doesn't appraise, that we're going to still be able to manage taking care of this deal. However, just so you know, we use a local appraisal management company, not one of these big national companies that don't pay their appraisers anything. Our appraisers are getting well paid and they know how important it is to bring the value in at the purchase price. Right. So I've addressed all of these things and now done. 90% of the time
Yes.
they accept ours.
We had a small twist, or we still do today. We have a certificate that goes with the offer called certified buyer. So we've approved them. We've gone through underwriting. We're literally down to an appraisal and title. Like there's not much else you need. Same kind of thing. And then we just did a 19-day guarantee close it up, and then we paid up to $2,000. Same twist. It's interesting that some of these things we've been thinking about these. How can we twist these around and use them in today's market a little bit? Because the market's different. Back then, it was multiple offers over, and some of those talking points we had then are not the same today. Probably, you know,
Yeah. It's
it
it's
is different,
different. It's
but you
different.
can
So
still use
I
some
I
of that
think
stuff today and stand out. So
well, and like I said, right, you use it and you help your client, which is your
yeah,
realtor, you help them get the offer accepted, and you help them look like a king, right? And you're now the most valuable player on the team because they're not stupid, right? They know that they got that offer accepted because you were capable of
yeah,
backing it up, right? So first get to a if I was always the master of my domain. I had my own team for all the time, right? Like once I started doing closing loans, I was like, I'm not going to be part of any of this. I'm having my team because I need attention, all the attention on me, right? Like I'm not going to deny that that was me, but that's what got me to where I was. Now, as the company owner, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have all that same aggressiveness for everybody. And I'm trying to teach everybody how to do it. I'm trying to develop the back end. And it's hard, man. It's not that easy, but I'm trying to develop the back end to always think like that, always be aggressive, always be at a place where, all that matters is supporting that loan officer to be able to go out and get business. Cause without it, nobody's
right.
got anything,
Doesn't matter. That's
you
right.
know? Yeah, and they're going out and they're representing themselves and they're putting their name on the line and they're putting our name on the line, so we better back it up. And I think it's important. So if you're and I don't want to talk crap on anybody, right? I mean, sometimes it's your fault and you'll blame the company, but if you're at a company that can't understand that the back end is there to support
Yeah.
you, then
You're at the
there's a
wrong
problem.
company. If you blame your company, you're not gonna work there very long, because you can't keep doing that, and then your realtors say, "I'm not gonna work with you anymore because your company's bad." Like, you can't work there very long. You gotta take ownership in it. I've heard it for the years. This also applies. I don't know if you have a lot of experience working with home builders, but these builder sales reps, like, that's another place we're getting a lot of business. We're like 60% home new construction right now. The the sales reps, they need us, like like you're talking about. They need us to help close those deals. They need us to pull that customer in. And we're really a critical partner to them right now because they can they can put us on a three-way on a call right in front of that home buyer that's sitting there looking at that model home, and we can get them off the fence quicker than they can a lot of times because we can give them confidence in the numbers and confidence in the payments, and help them understand they can buy this house today because the home builder, the sales rep, they don't know for sure. They don't have those tools to like really give that confidence. And so that's what's going on. That's another piece of it today is that critical moment of getting that contract put together. We're a key part of that. And you got to understand how important you are. And I don't think loan officers realize sometimes that that's their role is to be that person that seals the deal for everybody. I mean, where is it as important as the realtor or as the builder sales rep or whoever it is in that transaction?
A- and and you know what? It's also a mindset. Um, in fact, it's right in your bio. It says, known for his relentless growth
Yeah.
mindset. If your mindset is that I'm below that real estate agent because he gave me the deal, right? Then you're not going to win. You're not below him. You are right there at
Yes.
the exact same place. You guys are a
Yes.
team. A team, a quarterback is, hey, he's the quarterback, right? He's in charge of the team. Well, no,
Right.
without everybody else there, that quarterback
Yep.
is nothing, right? They're gonna tackle him and be done without his front line taking care of him, right? The receiver can't catch a ball, then doesn't
I
matter.
agree with you.
So we're part of a team, and your mindset has to be that, right? And you always
Y-
have to be with that growth mindset. Always be seeking ways to get better because things change all the time. And if you're complacent because you're doing fine, you know what? That's just going to slip
It
away.
is.
At some point, that's going to just slip away because you didn't evolve into something new. You didn't get creative. You didn't try something new. So don't ever stop trying to grow. That's the key, I believe, the key
It
to
is the
success.
key. And I think this is something I've been really thinking deep on. I was on a call today for an hour about this. Having a clear vision of where you're trying to go is the most important thing. And I've known this and I've had some success with it, but when I when I picked personally to go up Kilimanjaro, it was really interesting how before that it was a little harder to go to the gym and I wasn't working out as much and I wasn't always eating as healthy. But when I picked that goal, everything fell in place. It was easier. All those daily things that you do to do your business, it didn't matter anymore. I just got up because I had to. And then I put myself out there and I told the world I'm going up this mountain. And the reason that mattered to me is because I have integrity on my word. And I'm like, if I'm going, I'm going. I was gonna go by myself to Africa and climb a mountain because I told people I was going, even after my buddy bailed. And I can assure you I was going. But we're talking about this today, like, okay, if my goal is to increase my production next year, that's great. But once you get a vision on what that's going to do for you, and that's what will drive you to do those extra things, right? Like, and it's personal for every person. I was just talking to one of our loan officers, and he's real big with his kids. And I go, "You've told me for years you want to take a cruise with these kids. If you did, if you doubled your production, or whatever that number is, if you did 20 million next year, or whatever your number is, and you told your kids if you do this, you could go on that cruise because you'll have enough money to do it. Would that be enough for you to do all those extra calls and all those extra meetings without overthinking it? Yes, it probably would be. But you have to put yourself out there in this bold action. You have to tell everybody you're going to do it. And that's scary because you might fail. But when that vision gets really clear and compelling, man, things start happening. That's what I learned personally. Like I really brought it home. My takeaway is as I've kind of thought about this mountain climb, I didn't do it for any of this. I just did it to prove I could do hard things and do something that I thought was a cool adventure. But what I've learned is this vision is so awesome. And so when it's so clear, it's amazing what happens. And I'm seeking that a little bit right now. I did this mountain and I'm looking at my business. I'm like, how can I get a vision for my business for the growth of our company that I'm so excited about climbing Kilimanjaro that just pulls us all to it. They don't even think about the day to day and all the little things, you know? When that's really clear, man, things are awesome.
I agree. It's something that I find happens when you get in that mindset. There's a couple things. One, I'm sure everybody's heard like you move the big rocks first, and those are the ones that matter, right? So I know just hearing you say all this, like I could remember times when I was really so focused, and the things that happened is I didn't bog my memory down, my mind down with all of the things that I had to do. I just knocked them out because they had to get done. But I also focused in on what the most important thing was to accomplish that particular goal, mission, whatever it is that you want to call it, right? In order for you to climb the mountain, you had to get in peak physical shape, and you had to do that by working out and eating. So, were you gonna let I don't know, I'm actually I wanna ask, did you go to the gym in the
Yes.
morning or did you
In
go
the
at night?
morning, I had to.
Because it was the most important thing, you weren't gonna let
Exactly.
anything get in the way,
Yep.
period, right? That's exactly what it is. So, whatever that goal of yours is, if it's business, if it's to grow, if it's to double your business, believe it or not, it's really not that hard. You could easily double your business when you put your mind to it, and all you gotta do is put all the crap aside, move the big rocks. How are you going to double your business? Well, let's see. When was the last time you talked to all of your past clients? I mean, eh, amazing how much money you might make if you just called them, right? And then how many times have you gone and called all of your realtors that you've ever worked with just to say hi, right? Or better yet, just to ask for business. and what have you done to grow the business? What have you done to go out and meet to hunt for new food? I mean, those are the big rocks you got to do every single day, and all the little
Yes.
things just don't matter.
Why is it that like we're about to do, set goals for next year. I just did a call with a bunch of my LOs on a quarterly business plan that I like to do. But why is it that a lot of them will write down double their business, but they don't? It's like not compelling enough. I guess they don't have the why behind it. Like they want to and they want to make that money or they want to do that thing, but they don't. That's I've been thinking about this, and some do, and I see the ones that do, and they're so convicted. And I think the answer is in this extra thing, like the real vision of the goal that's outside of the numbers. What does it do for them that they're trying to do in their life? That's what they got to focus on. And I know one of our top producers is is I know her drive is unrelentlessly crazy. And she just broke 100 million. That's hard to do in today's market off referrals, right? Like it's crazy. But when you really sit down and listen to her, she has a lifestyle she wants. She has some investment properties she wants. She has goals. And those goals are so important to her. The numbers just go because all those numbers just happen. I think that's where a lot of loan officers miss sometimes. They don't get that extra why behind those numbers, and then they just don't hit those goals.
I think you're 100% right. I'll tell a personal story here real quick. Uh, Hopefully my wife probably will never listen, so it doesn't matter.
She'll only
one
listen in this
one
one
time we
episode,
were
by the way, now.
Yeah, probably right. Uh, one time we were having some problems and we were in counseling, and it was finally I kind of just let it out. I just let it all out, right? Because in our line of work, we're always solving problems, we're always taking in. And sometimes I'm like, I deal with more by noon every single day than you're complaining about here. Like, but okay, cool. But let's go. So it came out one day, and I didn't even really know it, but like you keep talking about the why. And my wife is 12 years younger than I am, and I got 4 kids. And I said, "You are so preoccupied with the here and now, which I love and respect, but we're also a team, and somebody has to worry about the later." And I go, "I know you don't think about this, but I'm 12 years older than you." So most people think about, hey, how much money can they make so that they can when are they going to retire and can they live out the rest of their life? And then they think, well, if I live for 10 years longer, then I gotta account for that. I go, I gotta think about, you know, not only how long am I gonna live, but how long are you going to live? And chances are you're gonna live even longer because, hey, your life's pretty good. You don't have any stress, right? Like, you're a woman, you don't have any stress. Chances are you're gonna live even longer. And then I got 4 kids. And let's just face it, as expensive as they seem in the early years, it gets
Oh,
way
yeah,
more expensive later,
for sure.
like way more expensive. And I want to be the dad that can help them buy their first house. I want them I want to be the dad that can help them
Yeah,
start a
me
business,
too.
right? I want to be
Uh,
that dad that can put my kids in a line for success. N Not just financially, right? Like, I don't wanna just give it to them. I want them to work for them. I want them to earn it, but I definitely wanna be able to help them, and I want to be able to make sure that my wife is taken care of after I die, and I said it here, I'm like, "You know, we have if I die, you're you're gonna be in such incredible shape, it's ridiculous because the life insurance that you're gonna get is amazing. Like, it's millions and millions and millions of dollars. But if I do live beyond a certain age, that life insurance, most of it goes away. I go, so either I need to make enough money so I can be okay living past like, I think it was like, 80, or I need to die just before it so you can get that extra like $5 million. Otherwise, 5 million of it is going away because I lived too long. And I go, so you want to know what I worry about? You want to know what's going on in my head all the time? You want to know why I'm always trying to get that extra deal? You want to know why? And it was like, that's my why. Like, she doesn't realize how much I do love her and how much I do care about how she's going to live. And that drives me, and one time I had this coach tell me, asked me the question. He said, "Dino, I was having my 4th kid, right? Just just a little baby." And he's like, "I just kidnapped your kid," he said, "and I'm not gonna hurt him, but you have to give me $1 million if you want him back. And you don't have $1 million right now. You don't have any of you have 0. What are you gonna do to make $1 million?" And I started thinking about it. And then he's like, "I'm serious. Tell me. Tell me what you're gonna do starting right now because I just took your kid, and tell me how long it's going to take." And I started thinking about it, right? Like, you can't help but think like, "All right, I mean, I can even go rob something. I don't care if I go to jail. I'm gonna get that money and I'm gonna get the kid back." But then I started thinking about, "Hmm, would I pick up the phone right now and just start calling everybody?" Yeah, I would. I'd call all my past clients right now. I would not waste a second. If they didn't pick up, I'd leave a quick message, hang up, and I'd go as fast as I can calling them. Would I waste time? I'm trying to think of the right word because it's a bad word. So, would I waste time pussyfooting around trying to get to the point? No, no, I wouldn't. I would immediately get to the point because I don't have time to waste. I would get to the point. So I loved what he said to me because it was at the moment, right, where my baby, it was a baby. And I put myself in this mindset that even, like, my wife would be supporting me. She wouldn't say to come home, she would say, "Keep working," you know? And if you could figure out how to get that support, because work-life balance is important, and I can tell you all that you have to figure out how to also not be a workaholic and not give to your family. You can't go all in on one direction, right? Like, there's a season for it. And for those of you that were around during COVID when rates were sub 3, that was a season that could change your life forever. You needed to put the time in. Like, that's a season, right? And I always told my wife, I'm like, "Babe," I go, It's like I'm a CPA and it's tax time. There is no wife that gives her CPA husband a hard time during tax time. It's just part of the gig. And when the rates drop, we don't know when it is, but when the rates drop, it's tax time. Like, you got to let me run, right? And those are the times where you run. But I will tell you right now, that time is coming again. And the most important thing you could possibly do right now is get your systems in line. Because if your systems aren't in place, you will not make the fullest to your potential because your systems can't do it. So get them in line. That's the most important thing. If I could take one thing out of all of the years that I've been doing this, 28 years, systems. Systems are everything. You can't produce any more than you can physically do in a certain amount of hours. But with the right systems and the right people, you can produce 10x that.
It's so critical. I you hit on something, that this story about this baby created this motivation, and then your wife would rally around you and everybody's going toward that. How can you find that thing that's not a pretend story, that's real for your family or for yourself? I just been thinking about this. You just kind of this morning, actually. How can we all find that one thing that's going to motivate us so much that we all are driving toward it? You know, in our family, in our wife, and our coworkers, or what our team. How can we do that? I don't. It sounds easy, but it's really not that easy for a lot of people. You know, it's really not.
No, it's not. You know, I, and this is all a lot of personal experience here, right? Like you can't tell your wife you're going to work 12 hours and not have anything to show for it, or tell you, or go work for 12 hours, then come back and you're absolutely worthless, right? Like you have to figure out how to do all of it. And I'm sorry if it's difficult. I'm sorry, but hey, that's just how it goes, right? Like you have to figure out what level you want. The higher the level, the more difficult it is. But again, going back to these systems, you're gonna work your ass off, but at some point you have to start putting systems in place because you can't work any harder. It's not going to achieve anything more. Those systems. So let me kind of throw out some numbers just to explain. When I was doing 30 million a month, I mean, a year as a producer, I was working my tail off. When I got to 60, I was I was working my tail off, but I was more focused. All I was doing was like a certain amount of jobs, right? And then other people are doing. Then when I got to 100 million, I actually started working a little bit less. And when I got to 150 million, guess what? I never worked weekends. I never worked nights. I mean, I left 6 o'clock was my time to leave. But and my wife will say otherwise, right? I mean, you always check your phone a little bit, but I was very strict. I wouldn't talk to clients unless it was an emergency after 6 o'clock. Only certain realtors would call me every once in a while when it was an emergency, and they would always start with, "I know it's family time, so I'm really sorry. Do you have 5 minutes?" And I was like, man, that's I felt so accomplished that they said family time and I'm sorry in 5 minutes. Like it must have been important. I said, absolutely, but I laid down those parameters. And the reason why they didn't need to call me at night all the time is because I handled my business every day before 6 o'clock. And there was people also that did other things, right? So you have to understand that you can get to 100 million and it'll actually become easier if you learn how to work the systems. It'll actually be easier. You'll actually work less. You'll actually have more time left for your family. And guess what? You'll achieve all of those financial dreams that you have. You can buy an investment property. I mean, shoot, if you're doing 100 million, you can buy one every month. You really can, you know? And life gets a lot easier, but put the systems in place. And I know you're probably saying, "Well, tell me what these systems are." All right, that's a whole that's
It's
a
a
that
whole
that's
nother
a maybe a
episode. Yeah,
webinar that we should
exactly.
do.
I always say start with reading the book, The E-Myth Revisited. That's my go-to start. I don't know if you ever read that book, or I s
I have, and I'm gonna throw out another one right now too.
Yep.
Good to Great. I love that book because a lot of us are good, but how do you get to great? And that's a whole different, animal right there. So, listen, we're going over. So I'm gonna fast track past a lot of stuff because I don't know why I kind of took us off a bit, but I just loved
Yeah, that's
talking to you
great.
back and forth like this. Uh, so now we're at the, we've skipped probably a good 20 years of your career, your history, right? You are managing and leading and I think changing lives, which I think is awesome. I love to see that. I know partially because of just how, our age and how long we've been in the business, it's important to both of us to leave a legacy
Yes.
behind, not just for our family, but for the industry. That's why I'm doing this. And now to finish it off, I had a couple questions. One, you already answered it. The book, The E Myth, is that your favorite book?
No, I would say just pick a book right now. I would say the book that's been my favorite recently is of the book called The 12-Hour Walk, by Colin Brady. I would put that book out there. Yeah. This is why I did Kilimanjaro. I read this book called The 12-Hour Walk, and it challenges you to go out your front door and walk for 12 hours, no music, no friends, no dogs, and just go. So I did it. I finished the book on a Thursday and I walked out the door on Saturday morning, right? I took action like immediately. I told my wife I'm leaving at 5:30 in the morning and pick me up at 5:30 wherever I'm at, look on Life 360. And she's like, "You're crazy. Why are you doing?" I walked 30 miles that day. I took 17 pages of notes, and it was a cool experience for me. And yeah, I realized then I could go up Kilimanjaro. And I need to do it soon before I get too old. And that was where I committed to it while I was on that walk. And so that was the beginning. So cool book. It's inspiring. There's some great stories in it. Colin's a good dude. And if you are looking for your why or something, this would help you find it. We've been talking a lot about that. Um, but I would just throw that book out there.
All right. And then the last question, I always love answering this question, but right now at this stage in your life, you know everything you know, you're comfortable, but I'm going to pull you out of your management type role, your leadership role. I'm going to put you back into originating, and I'm going to take you away from your family. I'm going to drop you off. Do you know anybody in
No.
Iowa? I'm going to
Okay.
drop you off in Iowa, somewhere in Iowa. And I'm going to give you enough of an allowance so that you can
Okay.
live, but not enough you know, to spread it around or anything, right? You got to work in order to
Yeah.
survive now. What are you going to do? And you got to make
I
$1 million to
gotta
give
make
back
a
to your
million
family. What are you
bucks.
going
I
to do?
love it. I'm gonna go with what I know. I'm staying mortgage because that's what I know, right? Um, First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the list of all the producers. I'm gonna figure out who they are. I'm gonna go reach out to them. I'm gonna put together some classes. I'm gonna figure out what the community needs. I'm gonna go do everything I know to do today. I'm not gonna be different. Um,
And how are you going to get them to come to your class?
I have to partner with my community to get them to class. So right now we partner a lot with our title companies and we do classes there, and then they also have the connection. The thing is, you got to make sure they're classes they want to come to, you know. And then you're gonna call. We're doing an event right now called the Builder Realtor Roundup. We rented Dickies Arena in Fort Worth. It's it's the large it's the largest arena in Fort Worth. We have 28 home builders coming. With those 28 home builders, we got sponsorships. We're giving $1,000 away every 10 minutes to all the realtors that come. And it's free, by the way. This qualifies for the Guinness Book of World Records largest real estate networking event. Is there what they want $16,000 to come validate it, and we don't want to pay it. Like it's too much. But like if you think big and different, you're like, okay, we're gonna put all the home builders that we have in a room, and then we're gonna invite all the realtors, 25,000 real estate agents in Dallas Fort Worth. Imagine what can happen coming out of this day. For us, you know what we did? We said, if you want to be at this, you have to tie your incentives to us for 12 months, home builder. Pretty cool. So now we have incentives tied to us. Now we have our real estate agents. So I was telling one of our loan officers earlier, I go, dude, if you want to double your business, call every real estate agent in town and just say, do you know about the Builder Realtor Roundup? You know, let me tell you, let me tell you about this, that you have to be here this day, and here's why. Here's who you're gonna meet. By the way, you
Okay.
can call from
All right, stop, stop,
please.
stop, 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 stop. I'm gonna slow you down here because I need you to go back to Iowa and be a
That's yeah,
individual loan
make it too
officer because
big.
I want everybody listening something that they can actually do. They can't just go give away 16,000 or they can't go give away $1,000
Fair,
every 10 minutes. I
fair,
love it, by the way.
fair.
I
I
love
did
it,
get
but tell me what
fair.
you would
I would
do.
get too big. Um, I okay. I like this book. This is something new I've been thinking. I probably would take the book Never Split the Difference. I would take about 4 teaching moments from it because it's real sales abilities that you can learn from. I would make a class. I would go around to all the realtors, and I'm probably going to learn that conversions is an issue. And I'm going to come learn from me how to convert clients. I'm going to teach you how hostage negotiators are able to win deals by increasing conversion. That's different. It's unique, and I bet you I can get people in front of me.
I love
Very
that. I love
yeah.
that. That's good. All right. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this show as much as I did. I loved it. Thank you, John Donnelly, for joining us. And guys, we're here to empower, equip, and educate you guys from the very best in the business. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like it, comment when you see it in social media, all the algorithms and all how that works. It helps us a lot. And tell your friends. Okay. We love you and we hope to see you again next time. John,
Thanks
thank
for
you
having me.
again.
This is a great conversation.